top story we're tracking at this hour. Hundreds of flights have been suspended and diverted due to foggy weather conditions at the Delhi International Airport in the past 24 hours. Delhi grapples with dense fog. Flights have now been disrupted, causing airports extensive disruptions, leaving passengers stranded at airports, aerobridge, and some even mid-flight. The Delhi airport has issued an advisory advising passengers to check with their airline before heading to the airport. In one of the many incidents, passengers aboard Delhi IndiGo's flight 2195 experienced a 12-hour delay and landed in Mumbai subsequently instead of Delhi. Facing the aftermath of this disruption, there was a severe lack of availability of crew to transport passengers back to Delhi, leaving them stranded without food, water, and exhausted. The Delhi's handling of the situation, the airline's handling of the situation has in fact drawn criticism, showing a clear failure on the part of the airline, unable to provide accommodation or food to its passengers. In a separate incident, an IndiGo pilot was in for a rude shock when he was suddenly assaulted by a passengers on board. When the former in fact announced delays as the pilot was being replaced. The video of the assault has since been circulated widely on social media. The incident has occurred in a Delhi to Goa flight. The attacker, a flyer, struck the pilot after the pilot announced that 13-hour delay. All in all, there is chaos, there is mayhem when it comes to airlines, flights in Delhi. Joining me at this point is my senior colleague Sridharan, editor, International TV9 Network. Shri, you're also a case study, come to think of it.
Yes,
this happened to you just about 12 hours ago. There was a delay for a flight that you were taking to come to Delhi. What a chaos at Delhi.
So yeah, it was an absolute chaos this morning, Shweta. Many planes and that got delayed. Mine was incidentally coming in from Delhi to Bangalore, and I was supposed to fly from Bangalore to Delhi 7 in the morning. So that got delayed by almost 2 hours. But luckily I didn't punch any pilot or any crew. But one thing which I want our viewers also to understand, Shweta, is that airlines really don't want delays. Because every single minute that an aircraft is sitting on the ground, they're actually losing money. It's not hard to understand. Imagine you're a taxi driver or someone who operates a fleet of taxi. When does a taxi make more money? When it's sitting in the garage, or it's out ferrying passengers, obviously ferrying passengers. So it's just different. This is a much bigger, more complicated, more expensive, plane. But the principle is the same. Airlines lose money every time it's sitting on the ground. It has to be flying passengers in order to make money. So let's not for a moment think that this delay is because of the airlines. No, it's not because of the airlines, because of the inclement weather or the severe fog that Delhi and other places like Kolkata are witnessing, which is why all these airlines are being delayed. The schedules have gone totally asunder. But I think where airlines could do their bit is basically to make sure that if there is going to be a delay, that at least they take care of passengers properly.
Absolutely.
Right? So now, Shweta, there are two kinds of delays that happen. If you're flying on an airplane, one is before you board, right? You're waiting for your plane and they say, okay, the plane hasn't come yet, or it's not going to take off, so that's fine. You still have the airport kind of access the facilities to enjoy. But the other delay that happens is on the tarmac, either when you're waiting to take off or you landed, but because of certain reasons, you're not being allowed to deplane, right? Now, according to the rules, airlines are supposed to take care of passengers if it is normal circumstances. But right now, if every airline is obviously blaming the weather, so in some sense, they're washing their hands off, saying that, okay, this is beyond our control. This is not our problem. It's not because my machinery or my plane was not ready to take off. My pilot didn't, turn up for work. So it's not that case. It's because of the inclement weather that we are not able to fly.
So the question that I have at this point, I think many of our viewers would also have, is that there is a problem here, not just with respect to the weather, which obviously airlines cannot control, but do they have enough pilots who are trained to fly in foggy, dense fog-like situation, which is what DGCA also flagged in the past, especially with Air India as well as SpiceJet. They do not have enough trained pilots, or perhaps those pilots which are trained in foggy conditions are not rostered to Delhi. So is that a problem with the rostering here? Is there a problem with actually absence of enough trained pilots?
So that's definitely part of the problem, Shweta. But remember, this morning, even the Cat 3 runway in Delhi was shut because the fog was so dense. In fact, the minister tweeted saying that, it was in some point between 5 a.m., 9 a.m., it was almost zero temperature. Yeah. And, the visibility was almost zero. So, in that situation, I think the ATC decides to err on the side of caution by not allowing these, planes to take off or land. So that causes the problem. But according to global best practices and standards, Shweta, for example, if you look at the US Department of Transportation, there the norm is if it's a domestic flight, if you're on the tarmac waiting in a plane, then after 3 hours, the airline has to let you off. Okay, as long as the pilot deems it's safe for people to get off. So he can do that. But that comes with a downside, Shweta, because if you choose to deplane, then you can't come back on, right? So if weather clears up and the plane takes off, you may not be allowed back on the plane. Plus the baggage, if you checked in any bags, those bags cannot be taken off.
Absolutely.
So you're going one way, your bag's going another way, right? So it's up to you then to call the airline, track your baggage and get it. So which is why a lot of airlines don't encourage passengers to get off because of these complications. They encourage them to keep sitting in the aircraft, and when it is very clear that the flight is not going to take off at all, it's only then do they ask passengers to deplane. Otherwise, if they're just waiting for the weather to improve, then it's something they're also waiting.
Absolutely.
They don't know when the weather is going to clear.
Right.
So they are on the side of caution and ask passengers to wait inside the plane. So that is when, these things happen, tempers flare up and, pilots get punched. Which, by the way, is totally illegal. It's punishable. You can land you in prison for up to 1 year or 5 lakh in penalty, according to our...
And get on the no-fly list as well, which means you'll not be able to fly again.
This passenger that you mentioned who punched the pilot, I think he's going to be put on IndiGo's no-fly list.
Okay, so those are the serious repercussions of punching people, assaulting people, or just not being unruly mid-air or in the airport. But I have to, before I let you go, ask you, what is the responsibility of airlines? What is the responsibility when they know that the flight has been delayed for, let's say, 2 or more hours towards people? Because there is a general sense of, understanding, a tacit understanding that airlines will provide for food, provide for accommodation if it's an overnight flight, but that doesn't seem to be happening from airlines' side right now.
Right. So according to the DGCA rules, Shweta, if these circumstances are beyond an airline's control, then they're not liable to provide you food or accommodation at night.
Okay.
We saw one, on Twitter, IndiGo's been trending all day today, and there's one lady who's asking IndiGo, my flight is delayed, you're going to fly me tomorrow morning, why am I not getting an accommodation? Because as per rule, IndiGo is right, because of the weather conditions, the flight is delayed, then they're not liable to give this passenger an overnight accommodation. It's up to the passenger to figure it out. But that said, I think where the airlines can actually de-escalate such situations is through communication. Keep your passengers informed.
Forward communication.
Yes, absolutely. There's going to be a delay. Please talk to them. Let them know that there's a delay. Keep enough water. Keep some snacks on board. It's not going to cost you a fortune, but it's going to, generate goodwill, and it's going to lead to sticky passengers. If they know that there's going to be a delay of 10 hours or 6 hours or 5 hours, and the airline is going to take care of me, at least by giving me water and some snacks, that's the least I think airlines can and should do, according to me, Shweta.
Absolutely. And airlines must do at this point in time if they are to redeem some of the goodwill that they had. Remember, IndiGo, as my colleague mentioned, has been trending on social media, and for all the wrong reasons, flights have been delayed and passengers constantly complaining that they did not receive the treatment that they should have. The visuals on your screens at this point in time of an unruly passenger who ended up assaulting the pilot, which is absolutely condemnable, should not happen, will land you in jail, but at the same time, some sense of responsibility, perhaps an act of humanity on behalf of the airlines expected to give people adequate time, forward communication, and if at all passengers are sitting in airports for hours and hours or are stranded with an airline, provide them with basic necessities like food, perhaps water, and some place to sit or rest. That is expected. But all in all, it's a chaos at the Delhi airport as we are looking at it right now.